quality articles about culture, style, society, and philanthropy. And I thought that Universal Giving would be a great candidate for an article. So here I am.
Wonderful. That's great. Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. So I guess just to start, I wanted to know, I know we talked about this when I met you last summer, but how did you enter your field as an entrepreneur, and have you felt more challenged as a woman in the entrepreneurial field?
Well, I started because actually it was when I was young, when I was 12 years old on a family vacation in Mexico with my family there. My father and I were walking around a cul-de-sac right where we kind of gotten dropped off, and we were around this marketplace, and there was all this food and Mexican music and just this amazing ambiance. And we turned down this cul-de-sac and we saw all of these begging, starving children, and the word unacceptable just poured across my mind, and I just knew that this was not right to have in the world. And I think that from that time, it really for me was something that was just so important to have an organization that could do something that could change the world in a strategic way and could help people really be able to give and volunteer and in ways that could help people across the world. So that was really the genesis of it. I think your second question about is it harder for women and things like that, I think depends on each person. I've seen myself as very fortunate that we've had a lot of great supporters, but I also know that there have been challenges, and sometimes I do wonder, I don't think it would have been as hard, maybe fundraising, if it were, you get that suggestion of maybe male to male, they would understand that each other a little bit more. But I choose not really to buy into that. And I'm an individualist, and I believe that men have rights and women have rights. And I believe that we all, embody and manifest wonderful qualities of strength and poise and femininity and joy and giving and kindness and softness and strength. So I choose to look at it more as qualities rather than looking at it as does a man have a hard time or a woman have a hard time.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And what does your role as founder and CEO of Universal Giving entail?
Well, it entails recruiting and maintaining a positive board. It entails fundraising. It entails working on strategy. And then sometimes you need to go in and refine certain areas of the organization that maybe need to get refined and kind of retool in certain areas that are important that will help with innovation. So, often you'll need to do that or to go work with your managers to get them to work on a certain area. But mostly what you're trying to do is stay on the high level, which is you're working on the strategy, working on the board, working on major relationships that will help the organization push forward. And to that end, that also relates to major partnerships, such as company partnerships or marketing partnerships.
Great. And you touched on this with your entering the field of entrepreneurial world, but what was your initial idea behind Universal Giving, and have you pivoted from this idea, or does it remain the same?
It remains the same. It really is the same. We wanted to connect people to quality giving and volunteer opportunities all over the world, and that's what we're doing. So our mission has stayed the same. We said we always were going to give 100% of the donation. That stayed the same. We haven't taken a cut on the donation for 10 years. We haven't done it. We hope we never do. Quality has been super important, making sure that we vet all of our NGOs with a 24-stage quality model, so that's the same. And the fact that we wanted to be sustainable and to be social entrepreneurs by having a corporate service really has stayed the same too. We wanted to go in and help companies with their CSR strategies and vet their NGOs, and that's what we're doing. So it has stayed the same. That doesn't mean you don't have to stay on top of innovation. For example, when we first started off, we had 6 stages of quality vetting, and now we have 24. So you don't just stick with it and stay with it and say, okay, we're done. That concept might be true, but you need to refine that concept and continue to stay innovative so that you're providing top-notch, innovative quality in your vetting, for example.
Great. That's great to hear. And there's many volunteering organizations out there that people can join. I was just wondering why you chose to start a new organization versus joining an existing one.
I don't think there were a lot of volunteer organizations out there. When I started, we were, pretty much one of the first ones on the web. So I think maybe now for your generation, but remember when I was starting off, there was no web. So for us, this was completely new. So for us, we were one of the first players in the game. We've been around, depending on whether you count startup mode or not, 12 years. So for us, there wasn't really an opportunity to join another web-based organization. So we were those real innovators. To me, once I saw the just tremendous power of the web and how exciting it was to be able to scale, that kind of precluded me wanting to join another volunteer organization that works solely on the ground.
Yeah, that's great. I hadn't really thought about the transition from technology.
Right. What it was like before.
And building and scaling a business is clearly not a simple feat. So I was just wondering what your biggest obstacle has been and how did you overcome your barriers to success?
Well, probably one of the biggest obstacles is something that we all face as individuals at time where you might just face a dry period, or maybe business seems to be a little bit slower than you would have thought. And so you constantly need to retool and refine certain aspects of your website or your corporate services or your offerings. And sometimes it's slower due to the economy. Sometimes it's slower just because of strange flukes within a business cycle or companies. But you need to constantly be innovating. You know, the Japanese call this Kaizen. And what they do is when there's a tough economic time, they're constantly retooling and trying to make their services better and better. And I love that, because even if it's a slow time, that doesn't mean you can't make your vetting services better. You could come up with 3 more vetting ways. Or you could come up with 6 different ways to make your operations more streamlined and save money. Or you could refine your corporate strategy and your outreach to companies. So to me, when you go through tough times or challenging business times, the key then is to stay steady, refine, and get ready for when the business will increase. Are your operations ready to handle it? Is your staff ready? Do you have the innovation in place? You want to get all those things in place, and when business does pop up again, you're ready to go.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. And just, I was just wondering if you had any female entrepreneurs or other nonprofits that you look up to.
You know, again, I don't look at it so much as female-oriented. That's a really good question. I look at it as more individuals. When I look at people who I really respect and admire, one of them is Bill Draper, and he's, you know, a long-term venture capitalist in this community, and he has started the Draper Richards Foundation, which funds social entrepreneurs in the area. And they give them large 6-figure grants for 3 years. They sit on their board. They're very intentional. They're very meaningful. And I think when I look at it again, it's the qualities of someone like this who's tremendously successful.
Yeah.
But very humble, very open to meeting and helping advise me, very supportive. And so I look up to him because I see someone who is tremendously successful. And I don't mean just Silicon Valley financial successful. I mean wisdom successful, kindness successful, very humble, wise, and someone that you just really enjoy spending time with. And to me, that's something that I look up to. So if I had to look up to like a female person, the other 2 people that I would say would be my mother and my grandmother. You can check out my mom. She's the founder of Avadis, which means good news in Armenian, and it's a chamber music series. She's a prolific nationwide flutist. She has debuted at Carnegie Hall in New York, and she now runs an Avadis series in San Francisco at the Legion of Honor 4 times a year to packed houses. And she started off with few people in the audience, has built it to this amazing sold-out house. And she just puts together all the music, bringing together all these amazing oboists and people from the harp and piano and people who are amazing in the symphony and from all over the world. And beautiful, beautiful music, has endured for more than 31 years doing this, incredibly devoted to her craft as a musician. So I have tremendous respect for her. And then going back further on our heritage of our line, and you can read this on my blog, Living and Giving, you can read about Frances Blaisdell. And that's my Oma, who is one of the first woman woodwinds at Juilliard School, and how she had to fight her way to the top as a woman in the music industry. Yeah. And so those are the people that I look at as my models.
That's great. That's incredible. And just a fun question I like to ask, if your company were given $1 billion, how would you spend it?
Oh, wow, that's an exciting question. You know, I think I had to be honest. If I were just to answer improv-wise, because I do that on the side, the first thing that would come to me is I would want to take the time and write thank you notes and send beautiful flower bouquets or whatever kind of gift that person would want. Mm-hmm. Every single NGO on our site, every single partner, every single person who's ever helped us get where we are today, every school teacher I've had, every family member I have, I'd probably come up with a list of like probably 5,000 people and do that. That would be the first thing I would do, because I think that when you thank people and realize that you were never made of yourself and you never made it on your own, and there are always people who help you get where you got to, and it's always a team and it's always a village, to go back and thank is one of the most powerful things. And in a lot of ways, people might think, well, why don't you go give it to X NGOs, or why don't you go buy a yacht for yourself, or whatever. I mean, obviously it's for organizations, so that wouldn't be the case. But, you know, the thing is, if you go back and think, and you really take that time from a lens of gratitude, then you are really emphasizing the fact that you are grateful that this good that's taken place in your life didn't just happen for granted. Go back and reinforce that. Thank people for that. And then probably new blossoms would unfold from that. You know, practically speaking, what I would do after that is I would parse out the rest of the money amongst our NGOs, because they are top performing NGOs. We vet them all and we love them, and most of them are unknown, and that's what we want. We want these unknown NGOs that are absolute local experts on the ground. They know what they're doing. They have those relationships on the ground. They're super poised and able to just really respond to crises and disasters. They have relationships with the people, and we esteem them very, very highly. And would most likely go in to help them scale if their operations could help them scale to that level. So that we would also take into account to make sure that they were able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. And also, that I've heard in the startup and entrepreneurial world, it's important to get your product out the door with emphasis of speed over perfection. And I know there's like controversy regarding that, but I was wondering if you agree with that statement.
You know, I would do a little bit of a version on that. You definitely don't want to go into paralysis analysis, which is you keep analyzing things and nothing gets out the door. That's not good. I'm not sure I believe in perfection. I believe in excellence. And excellence means doing your creative best. And in running a company, you realize all the time you're trying to refine, to retool, to, you know, get to higher levels, to understand how we can become better. So I really never look at our product as being perfect. So if we did that, we'd be at paralysis analysis, like waiting for it to be perfect. If you feel like you have something that's quality and it's excellent, then you get it out there and then you would start refining it immediately. But I don't believe in just pushing things out the door. Having said that, that's our industry. If you look at the parameters of our industry, you don't just want to push something out the door in philanthropy. What if it's not vetted well? Well, then you're going to get a whole bunch of fraud. We don't want to just push that out the door. But if you push something like Twitter out the door and people are getting messages out, that's a little different. They have quality standards, but it's the not same thing with us, that we're dealing with terrorism, fraud, all of that. Our 24-stage vetting model really ensures that your money is going to impactful places, that it's going to vetted places, that it's making an impact, and that it's going to really strong local leaders that know what they're doing on the ground. So can you just shoot that out the door? I don't think so. I think you got to have a really strong vetting model. But having said that, as I told you, we launched with 6 stages in vetting, and now we have 24. If we had waited to have 24 stages, we wouldn't have been able to offer the service. And having said that, if we didn't get our product out the door, a lot of our lessons learned are from our clients. We never would have gotten half of those 24 stages, because you learn by going. So you do need to get it out the door, but I think for different reasons. You want to get it out in order to get feedback from your clients about how you can become better. You want to get it out to be innovative and first. And you want to get it out with a standard of excellence that you can quickly refine. Because if you can't, if you're just going to hold until it's perfect, it never will be perfect, and you will have waited and you will have lost your opportunity. But if you also get out something that's less than quality, you endanger your brand, and you endanger your execution, and you endanger your longevity.
Great. So those were the main questions that I had for you. I was just wondering if you had anything else you wanted our readers to know about Universal Giving, what you do, and anything they would want to hear about.
I think the two things, the first is that I encourage you, for those of you thinking about social entrepreneurship, Universal Giving is a website, helps people donate money, volunteer in 100 countries across the world. It's all free. We don't take a cut on the donation. And it's all quality and vetted. So you have a very simple service there. But I encourage you as social entrepreneurs, you can't just have a service like that and just run it well. To be really good social entrepreneurs, you need to be able to have a way to generate revenue. And that's how we do it with Universal Giving Corporate. We go into companies, help them with their CSR programs, like Cisco and like BHP Billiton and Gap. And we help them when we help them with their CSR strategy, their NGO vetting, and we disperse their NGOs, the money to the NGOs. And so if you want to be a really good NGO, a good social entrepreneur, you need to be able to generate revenue, and that's how we do it. The companies pay us to do that. So I encourage social entrepreneurs to make sure whether you're a for-profit or nonprofit, you need a revenue generation strategy. And the second I would say is make sure you're taking care of your team. Make sure there's balance on your team. Make sure that you're trying to provide new benefits and to keeping your team. Make sure that they've got job descriptions and that they like what they're doing, and check in with the team. And it's not going to be perfect, but you as a leader and with your managers need to be showing people that you care. If you made a mistake, go back and try and resolve it and try and make it better. Even if you only have a limited amount of time to do it, show that you care. People are busy. You're busy as a leader. But if you can't care about the team and take the time to work with them in management, have your managers work with them in management, and have a balanced lifestyle, then you're really not building a team for the long term. And that's, what we try and do, and we're not perfect at it, but we keep trying and we don't neglect it. It's the kind of thing that sometimes companies, like they're delayed on performance reviews. We've never missed performance reviews. We have a 6-month check-in. We have check-ins, pretty much every day we're working with our team, making sure that we're on the same track. And so I encourage you, don't neglect your team. People are excited about the vision. They're excited about the opportunities, but you've got to care about the people. That's the bread and butter behind what makes your vision roll.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. The article is set to be published February 11th, so I'll definitely update you with all of that information. And if you have any pictures you could send along to me, I usually try and put it in about 5 pictures into the article. So I can talk to Danielle about that too, if that's easier. But I would love to just add some pictures and any more into the article.
Great. Thank you so much. This was such a joy to talk to you. And will I get a chance to see you out in Duke and Silicon Valley again this year?
Not this year.
Okay. Well,
But
let us know if
maybe
you're going to be out
this
here.
year. Sorry?
Let us know if you're going to be out here. We'd love to have you.
Yes, I definitely will.
Okay. Well, such a joy to talk to you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.